Well, a very good evening from South Africa, where the autumn is starting to nip. We are presenting episode 38 already, would you believe, of Velospitty Speed Talk. Our episode is entitled Mount Rossmoor, and the reason is that our guest goes by the name Rossi Moor. Rossi, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me.
All right. Just before we get cracking to get to know a little bit more about you, we'll just run through what happened in the last weekend. It was a busy raced weekend at local and national and international level. At top level, we had the Motocross GP at Agada. And then of more interest to you, I would imagine, was the MotoGP round in Argentina, where the bikes nearly didn't make it. Some bikes arrived late, and they relied on a 37-year-old Boeing 747 from Kyrgyzstan to get the bikes there. So we were just hoping that the wings stayed on. Did you follow the GP at all?
Yeah, I was following the GP the whole weekend, and I was super bummed when I heard that Friday will be no practice, and possibly even the weekend might not even be able to start since the bikes have not arrived. But I was more sad for Gresini since Enea Bastianini became one of my favorite riders after the win in Qatar, and so I saw that their bikes haven't arrived, and their social media team, when they were posting the funny reels on Instagram, I was just kind of bummed for them, hoping that the bikes will be able to arrive, and they did. And I was actually just coming home from riding at one of the tracks, and me and Dad and Benjamin, my brother, were watching the MotoGP live coming home on the highway.
All right, yeah, and then with particular focus on what we do in Youth Force, there were a couple of notables with youth riders. Firmin Aldeguer, 16 years old, qualified on pole in Moto2, got a massive hole shot, and we'll get back to the hole shot story in a bit. Got a massive hole shot, got pushed to second, and then passing for the lead at a super spectacular crash. And other youngsters, Zonta van der Gooiberg, an ex-Red Bull Rookies rider and European Talent Cup rider, also qualified well, I think 14th. And then, of course, Pedro Acosta, who was such a sensation last year in the Moto3, finished 7th. So a good top 10 for him. And then a sad thing for our friend Ethan Guevara. Second time this has happened to him, leading the race, and the bike gives up the ghost. Last time, the race was red flagged the lap before, so he actually got the win, but not this time around. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I used to be teammates with Firmin Aldeguer back in 2019 when I had a few wild cards in the European Talent Cup, and we were a team of 5 riders. But yeah, it was really good for Firmin that he got pole. I was very happy for him, and he got a hole shot and was able to pull away. But Celestino Vietti was getting closer, and he went wide, I think, into the final turn. And he just tried to get back on the racing line, and Firmin sadly was at the wrong place at the wrong time and just got hit. But we were watching the spectacular crash live, and how he just kind of spun around. It wasn't a funny crash, but it looked funny from the outside, how he just kind of, I think his hand got stuck on the gas possibly. He was just spinning like one of those top spinners, you know?
That looked quite a bit like a skateboard trick, and we'll pull in Guy Curie. He's a Brazilian skateboarder that we interviewed before, and he was the first skateboarder ever, not skateboarder of age. He was the first skateboarder ever to do a 1080 on a vert ramp on skateboard. Even before his hero Tony Hawk did that. But I'll maybe introduce them to each other and see if they can catch a few tips from each other. Now, coming up this weekend, the MotoGP guys are going to Circuit of the Americas, COTA. That that copped huge criticism last year for the track surface. They've redone that. And the motocross guys are going to Trentino in Italy, and also the EMX 125, the 125 European Championships, which are the riders in motocross that I more or less compared to your class. The everything to the wall, full open, no inch given races. So what are your thoughts on COTA? What do you think would happen in America coming up?
COTA is one of those tracks where it's like kind of you can't really tell who's going to be at the top, because we have a few American riders there, which is Joe Roberts and Cameron Beaubier, which have been there for many years, racing in the Moto America class or championship. And for us Americans, these European tracks here is like gold. Like, everything is repaved nicely. There's rumble strips and stuff that you can use out. The tracks that I grew up on really didn't even have like a runoff or anything, and there was just a hay bale on a wall. So these tracks are really gold for us. But for Cameron Beaubier, he's used to like these bumpy and bad-ish tracks with not the greatest surface. I think that Cameron can definitely be up there this weekend, but also other riders like Celestino Vietti, which is one of my favorite riders in Moto2. I hope that he'll be able to win the race, but also for Cameron Beaubier, I wish him the best.
It's always good for the locals and also for the sport as a whole. When the locals do well, I see dads taking care of some nutrition there in the background. You guys are in Spain, right?
Yeah, we're in Spain right now in Torrevella. He's back there right now. I don't know if you can see him.
Yeah, no, I saw. Hi, how are you? Right. Yeah, no, that's invaluable to have a dad with that can work with both hands, one hand on the bike, the other hand on the pans. That's he's worth his weight in gold. You should treasure that. And we've got some reactions already. Laszlo Lorenz, thank you for joining. Dave Brugh, Louis de Lange, and Christian Taylor, all kind of countries represented in our comments and likes already. All right, now with a super long intro, now let's get to you. So just run us briefly through the history of where this all started.
Well, my dad used to race super bikes in America at a local level, and basically he would always bring me out to the tracks, and I would always help him like take off the tire warmer or give him the tire pressure checker, and that's basically where it all sparked in me. Actually, a little bit before that, my dad also, before he would go riding on the street a little bit, he'd always put me on my bike when I was like 2 years old. I couldn't find any videos about that, sadly, but he would always put me on the bike when I was like 2 years old or 1.5 years old, and I would basically cry when he took me off when he had to leave. But when I was big enough to get my own bike, my grandpa got me my first electric pocket bike, and I think I sent you videos about that when I was just in the driveway at my home, where I was just kind of sliding it. And,
that was cool.
And after that, I got my first motocross bike, but it was really just like a small pit bike. It was a CRF50, and I did my first motocross race at a PIR, one of my local tracks, and I think I was 6 years old in a class going against like 12 years old, because that was the 5 years old? Yeah. 5 years old then. And I was going against a class where it was 12-year-olds was the oldest. Yeah. And everybody had like a tricked out.
You're such a bully. You're such a bully, bullying those older boys. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and sadly, since everybody had like a more tricked out bike than mine, I finished last. And when I came off the bike, I was all mad. So I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to race the motocross. I want to go to road racing. And I did my first road race with the KO 125. It's basically like a copy of the NSF 100. I did my first race with that, and I won. and I won both races in the weekend. I won all the pole position and I got the pole position, and I won all the free practices. So
Yeah, and fastest lap time probably as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. So there was a clean sweep. So yeah, that's an auspicious start, winning your first time out, and we're going to get back to the motocross in a bit. Now with a name like Rossi, I take it that your dad wasn't a Biaggi fan or something like that, right? Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, my dad was a really hardcore Valentino Rossi fan. He basically watched him ever since his first race back in '96.
And Ben Spies fan.
And a Ben Spies fan. That's why my brother is named Benjamin, like Ben
Oh,
Spies.
all right. Oh, and Ben
So
Spies. Okay, yeah. Well,
the
that's
whole
an
family
Australian.
trio.
Yeah, so you guys are traveling the world. Now, interesting fact, if I can throw in my own campfire story, in 1996 in Donington, I used to work a little bit with a British rider by the name of Jamie Robinson, and we were at Donington, and we ran across Rossi then. They called him Rossi Fumi because he had long hair like Norifume Abe. So, and he was always fun. Every podium thing that he did a fun thing. So, when he was at Donington, that's near Nottingham Forest. So he would do like a Robin Hood thing on the podium and that. And we spoke with him and his dad, Graziano. And interestingly enough, Jamie Robinson rode for a team called Dock Shop Racing, and Patrick van der Goorberg, who is Zonta's dad, was also involved there. So that's how long it goes back. But yeah, then my own story devolved or evolved, whichever way you want to look at it, into motocross. Now, okay, staying with the roots, you are Hungaro-American or American-Hungarian. So give us the dynamic of that.
Well, basically all my ancestors and grandparents and everybody, my mom, my dad, are all Hungarian, and but I was born in America, so basically I have all my roots and all my taste buds from Hungary, but I was born in America, so I'm basically both.
Oh, so you eat goulash and burgers, right?
I can cook it very well too.
Oh, really? Well, I'll take you up on that. There's no doubt about that. 100%. All right. Now, then at some stage, the decision had to be made because you raced early in the States, and probably road racing as well. And I don't know if it was a decision or it just panned out this way, but you ended up in Europe. And what was the logic behind that?
Well, basically, I swept the floor with everybody in America, so I had no competition there. So I had to go somewhere else. I raced against also many East Coast kids. We did a 24-hour endurance race, and everybody came over there, and we had a team. And I would always set the fastest lap time by like a second. So basically, our only option was to come to Europe. And my dad messaged Stefano Favaro, who is now my manager. He messaged him when I was about 6 years old, if he would like to be my manager, and he said maybe I'll take you up on it. And then maybe finally, when I was 10, he asked again, and then he decided to be my manager. And he was the one who set up for me to race in the Italian championship, the CIV, with the Ovale 160, and basically the rest is history.
Yeah, so he almost became the equivalent of the racing guy that gave up the opportunity to manage the Beatles or something like that, right? Because you hear these stories where a guy says, Coca-Cola, no, that will never work in my country. No, don't want that. Well, I'm glad you guys hooked up. And you mentioned now where we're going. In any case, you jumped the gates slightly, so you'll have to do a long lap. You said that you did CIV in Italy on Ovale, and what other international, because you mentioned also European Talent Cup, so obviously you've raced in Italy and Spain, and I don't know if you did some ADAC as well. Just take us through what you had done before you got to Northern Talent Cup.
Yeah, I had many different championships. I did the Ovale 160 in the CIV. I also did the 190 in the CIV. When I was Oh yeah, I also did the CNV 160 before the CIV. Like they were both. I was doing like a mixed championship. But then I went to the World Championship in 2018, I think 2019 or 2018. 2018 and no 2019. Sorry. I did the World Championship in 2019, and in the first race, my carburetors, the needle inside the carburetor fell apart. Basically, like it dropped into the carburetor, and
Yeah, yeah. Motocross
bike
guys know
stopped.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
as the needle stopped, my heart dropped basically. So it was kind of like one with the needle. But in the second race, my manager, we were like having some pep talk, and he just said something in me that kind of like lit a fire. And in the first lap, I was only half a second off the lap record from a standing start. So basically, I had like a 4 second gap in the first lap, and from there it kept increasing. But around the sixth lap out of the 12, my gearbox started to jump out, and every time I'd get on the gas in a certain turn, it would shift back from third to second. So I was trying to nurse it into the finish line, but in one of the turns, it completely went out of gear. So I was shifting just up and down randomly to try and get it back, and the bike stopped, and I high sided sadly, but. For some weird reason, I was able to kick back the bike, and I went back. So I went from last 25 seconds back all the way up to about eighth or seventh. So it was a kind of a comeback, but um, I just wanted to show everybody that I was going to be able to win it, but sadly I couldn't. But and
Yeah, these kind of epic rides often prove a point more than a win. You've had one of those or more in the Northern Talent Cup as well. We know that. And now we get to the Northern Talent Cup. We all know about the Stepping Stone Series, the European Talent Cup, the FIM Junior GP now, as the FIM CV Repsol is called now, which I prefer because it's a far less clumsy name. The British Talent Cup. And then quite recently, last year, we had the second season of Northern Talent Cup. So how did you get involved with that, and what were your early experiences?
The way I got into the Northern Talent Cup was basically in 2020 when COVID came. I was supposed to race in the European Talent Cup, but because of COVID, everything just kind of fell apart, and also the team did. So I had to go back to America to race, and I did a few rounds there with the Ovale. I did the whole championship with the Ovale American Series, and I won that championship. All the races, every qualifying, I got pole position except for one where my 160 didn't start. But anyway, the way I got into it was when we came back here to Europe. There was basically no other championship that I could do with my age, and so we decided to go into the Northern Talent Cup, and that's basically how it happened.
All right. So you see there's a hug for you from Adrian Hossschut.
Yeah.
And we will see Hoss in one of the videos, unfortunately, in a less dignified manner. And then somebody said there, you're an interesting guest. And then somebody gave you a warning, a public service announcement. All right, you saw that. So that's
Jacopo Hosuch is actually a very, very close friend of mine.
Yes.
Basically, in the Northern Town
Number
Cup,
6, right? Also on a white bike.
Yeah, he was basically like a teammate that wasn't in my team. We were basically every time we went out on track, we went out on track together. Everything we did together. So we're very, very close friends, almost like a brother.
Yeah, no, I knew Hoss was going to pop in with. They are also very active in the Youth Force Racing Group, as is Laszlo Lorenz. So
he's also
I'm always
very close friend of mine too.
Yeah, I'm always very, very happy to reciprocate. All right, now before we get into so just take us through the European Talent Cup story. So what all happened then?
Basically, I got second in the CIV championship by a few points only. So we couldn't do anything else, just like in 2020. So with my age, so we decided to do 3 wild cards with the European Talent Cup, and we went into a team where it was when I was 12 years old. Yeah, but I went to a team where my manager was very close with the team manager there. But since I did only one test and I only had 3 rounds there, we couldn't really get a good setup with the bike at all. And it was basically I was only there to just get experience with a 17-inch bike, since I would never ridden a bike like that before, only the Ovale, which was a 10-inch bike, a very small, almost like a pocket bike. So that was a big learning curve there about suspension and how high the level is in Spain.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and it's a recurring theme for me. It's like our Spain is, they produce them strong in Spain, also at international level, and they've got super, super strong series. I remember in days gone by, and I mean, I'm talking a long time ago when the Dead Sea wasn't even ill yet. They had what they call the Ducados series, which then I think through Dorna merged into what would be the European Talent Cup and FIM CEV Repsol. But yeah, of course, they've got a very, very strong breeding ground, and you see a lot of these super young talents that are all Spanish, and I think in a sense it's hard to break in, for somebody that's not from there, and also to break into the teams there. I don't know what was your experience, because you said you'd been linked up with Aldeguer, which is sensational, and we'll speak about that afterwards as well. So how did you find getting to work with Spanish teams? Was it difficult to get in? What's the procedure? Did you just go out and throw the CV around just to get a ride there?
The thing is, with the Spanish teams, with my experiences and what I've heard with other people, they kind of more want the Spanish rider and the Spanish team. They want the Spanish to win. So my experiences was not so good with the team that I was in when I was racing in the European Town Cup, sadly. But I know that some teams have very good heart inside them, and they don't care really what rider, they just want to win. So with my experiences, I didn't have such a good experience with the Spanish team so far, but maybe that will change in the future.
Yeah, it's a hard and tough world, and also a very expensive world, and this is where motocross is perhaps preferable, although that's also become expensive, because I thought I was retired until I ran a motocross World Championship team for 10 years, and then suddenly discovered I wasn't retired anymore. But still, I think we could run a motocross season with what road racing team spends on a tire test. It's insane, the levels of money. Now, okay, before we go through this year's Northern Talent Cup, I spent a few hours slapping together a video for you from footage that I got. So here's the Release Your Own rock music video. And by the way, the band or the song that we feature in this, you will know probably, but the version of this song is done by an all youth band. It was a collaboration project that I did way back in 2000, I guess 13 or whatever, where we got kids from all different countries together in South Africa to do this a couple of collaboration songs, but among them this one. So get the popcorn ready and let's have a look.
Yeah.
Rossi, wait. Rossi, wait.
Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just try your best, try everything you can, and don't you worry what they tell themselves.
All right, there you go. There's your video. So that will go live on YouTube this evening. So I'll upload it and send you the link so you can share that out. Oh, before we get going, one
Yeah,
of the
thank you. That's a very, very good video.
Thank you. There's the Austrian Gaming HD says you should know him. He said he'd covered you before in some of his posts. So there you go. So and then we got a compliment on my shirt from Holland. Thank you, Jurka. There you go. That's normally the compliments go the other way because I strongly resemble Shrek myself. But any case, so and Christian says, Christian Taylor, great video. Thank you. He's a guy that delivers some great footage of motocross. So we're going to work on some footage that he divvied up over the weekend later on tonight. Now, let's unpack this video. And we saw Hoss, as I said, in a slightly undignified manner, but I promise I'll show him in better shape in an upcoming video. Okay, so that was a bit of your season. Your season started a bit in minor key in Le Mans. So just take us through the first round of the season.
Yeah, in Le Mans, it was a weekend where we had no idea what to expect. You know, we were looking at the Weather Channel basically every hour to see how it would change because we were doing a track walk with everybody and everybody thought, oh, nice weather. It's sunny outside. It's 20 degrees. And then just halfway through the track walk, it just started pouring down completely. So after that moment, we had no idea what to expect, how it's going to rain if it's not. We woke up in the morning and it was completely pouring. And then when we got to the track, it was dry. And but I had a pretty good feeling of Le Mans. It's not one of my favorite tracks, but I had pretty good pace there. In my first free practice, I had a problem with my rear tire where the tire pressure was too low, so I wasn't really had the pace at that time. But in FP2 we fixed it, and I think I got a first place in FP2. Also for qualifying, I was able to get pole position there, my first pole position of the year. And the part that really stuck was I was really feeling it. I felt like I was going to have a really good race with everybody there. And then 5 minutes before the race start, we were already taking off the tire warmers. And then there was one raindrop turned into 5 raindrops. And then it just completely got wet. So we were not able to test any wet setups whatsoever. We had no idea what we were going to expect. We didn't even know the tire pressure really. We just did with the recommendation that Dunlop gave us. So I had no idea what to expect. And in the first, once we started going into the first turn, I actually felt really good in the rain. And then the second turn, I sadly crashed out because of a technical issue where my chain was too tight. And when I stepped on the rear brake and got on the gas, it just completely got really tight and it just slid out completely like ice, which was a real bummer because it kind of knocked my confidence in the rain, which I felt really good in. So I would try to rejoin, but I was not able to since my front brake lever went outwards and I wasn't able to pull it back in. So sadly, that was the first race. And then the second race was really strange because in the first half, it was starting to dry up, like there was no sign of rain. And then a few laps in the second or third sector, a few corners before the last one, it just started to pour really heavily. So one part of the track was starting to dry. The next part of the track was completely wet. So it was really weird. Like you felt like you could lean it, but then you couldn't. And it was just, it was a real disaster of a weekend for me in Le Mans. But yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah. So and as you say, it can knock your confidence back a bit. Now you guys had a bit of almost a reverse situation in Assen, where it was wet to dry and you had to seek out patches. But we'll get to that. But maybe we'll give you a weekend with Brad Binder. You know, he'll show you how to get around a track on slicks in the wet. You know, yeah. and something like that, because the whole of South Africa was holding its breadth there. Now, sadly, in the video, I paid a little tribute to your good friend, Kuba, whom we lost this year, and you guys were great rivals, and him and I had a lot of contact. He also did an interview on the show and was so looking forward to this year, and it was a massive tragedy. How do you remember him, and what memories of him will you take forward?
Definitely one of my my biggest memory with him was the incredible battles we had at Sachsenring. It was a track to where also I had no idea where, and he had great experience there because last year he was able to ride in the free practices and in the qualifying. Sadly, not in the race because his shifter broke twice. But yeah, we had some real amazing battles in Sachsenring where it basically went down until the last centimeter of the track where I was only able to win it by 5500s. Speaking of Sachsenring in the race one, I don't know if he had this problem too, because we were talking in the podium area where the monitor, and when I got my pit board kept saying plus 1 lap. My mechanic kept showing plus 1 lap to me, so I was gonna try and set him up for the last lap pass. But when I started to set him up, the checkered flag went out, and it was a real bummer at that race too. But it really brought my confidence back also in the dry too, because it was my first ever real dry race with the Northern Talent Cup bike and with the Northern Talent Cup riders. So that was probably my biggest memory with him.
Yeah, and a sad way in which it happened, on a karting track, and yeah, we'll all carry fond memories of Jakob. Now, you mentioned the mistake with the lap, and actually one of our riders in South Africa, Neil van der Vyver, last year he was a 4-time in a row South African motocross champion, and he's only 14 years old. He was going for his 5th title in a row. The year started in minor key also for him. And then the penultimate round, he rode with a cracked arm, so it was damage control. And then came to the last race, and he literally had to win the race. And he'd made the pass, and the other guy repassed him. But in repassing him, they passed the finish line, and he didn't see the last lap board. So he thought he'll take a lap to set it up and then make the pass the following lap, and he didn't. And so he literally lost the South African title by less than a second. And now, speaking of seconds, you mentioned 500ths, and this is the nature of this kind of racing, because you often had 9 guys, also in Red Bull Rookies Cup, you have 9-10 guys cross the line in under a second. I mean, it looks insane from the outside. What's it like to experience that on the track, with having to look after your own lines and also aware of a whole swarm of hornets all around you?
To be honest, I actually love this kind of racing, to where basically every turn we're elbowing each other, or we're like rubbing paints onto each other's bikes. Also, when I'm just having a fun track day, if there's any Northern Talent Cup rider or racer that I can ride with on a kart track or a big track, I always try to race with him, even if it's not a real race, to where we're making like very hard passes on each other. So this very close racing, to where there's 9 riders and a few tenths, is basically second nature for me, and which I really love.
And I mean, the viewers and the spectators love that, and this is one of the reasons why we founded Youth Force Racing, because I was talking to motocross guys about how insanely good it is for road racers to do what they do, and the other way around, and discussing that with them, and then I found out the best way to do it is actually to start up a group and expose them to each other's racing. Now, having said that, do you follow motocross at all?
Motocross not so much, but I follow Supercross a lot. I
Yeah,
watched.
yeah,
I try to watch as
that
many
would
races as I can.
yeah, that would figure with the American background. And no, because interestingly enough, Hungary has had a very very strong resurgence, or not resurgence, but a surge of top line talent. I mean, from in road racing terms, it's yourself and Kevin Farkas that are at top level. But there were 3 great youngsters in motocross terms as well. I mean, Aaron Katona is the 65cc world champion, and you had a guy like Nel Zanoc and Ben Spergel. All of them top 10 in junior world championships in 85 and 125 respectively. So there's something in the water in Hungary, that's good for the racing. Now, talk about something in the water. I often make a joke about somebody's had his whole shot post toasties when somebody gets a couple of whole shots in on a race day, and you've gone the whole hog, in the sense that you've actually got the whole shot, not post toasties, but frosties. So tell us about that deal.
Yeah, in Hungary, Kellogg's. We reached out to Kellogg's if they would like to sponsor us, and they actually said yes. And not just Kellogg's, but also Pringles. I always joke about this with people, where they would ask me, how's Pringles and how did you get the sponsorship and how is it? And I would always reply, free chips.
All right. There, yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I remember there's a very very dry and deadpan. Well, used to be, he's passed away now. American stand-up comedian by the name of Mitch Hedberg, and he says he thinks he knows how Pringles came about. He says it was at the tennis ball factory, and they were waiting for the tennis balls, and by accident somebody delivered some potatoes, and the boss said, oh well, let's just cut them up, so that's how the Pringles got its packaging. Here's a comment. What do you think about Jet Lawrence? Have you got any favorites in the supercross stroke motocross in the States?
I watch both 250 and the 450, but my favorite in the 450 definitely has to be Eli Tomac. I actually have a funny story about him. When I was around 6 years old, he came to a shop where it was very close to our home, about 30 minutes. And at the time, we didn't really know Eli Tomac because he was just coming up. He got to Kawasaki, and we were more like focused on Willow Poto, and so we really didn't know him. So we went into the shop, and then we just kind of like, oh, who's these motocross riders? And then a few weeks later, we realized that Eli Tomac was there and a bunch of other Kawasaki riders, and we're like, oh, come on, we didn't get a photo with him. Oh man. But Eli Tomac is my favorite in the 450, and the 250 is definitely also Jet Lawrence. He's we were watching the last race at I can't remember where it was, but we were watching it. It looked like we were like, oh, he's getting beaten by one of the Kawasaki riders. I think it was one of the Kawasaki riders, and we were like, oh, he might be sandbagging, and he was, because he just passed him and then left him in the dust basically and won the race again. So we're just like, oh,
yeah,
he's doing his thing.
Yeah, he is, and last year, of course, maybe a bit overeager, or what? Sometimes, he made a pass on Dylan Ferrandis and then planted himself deep into the first whoop, and so on, and injuries. But it's rookie things, because he's still a youngster. He can still literally ride high school class age-wise, So yeah, it's he's doing well, and Hunter as well, So and if you go back on their story where they had to sell up everything and throw everything into the pot like that, just there in the background, just to risk it, that's sticking a big toe into the water. Now, I saw also a picture of you with Jack Miller, and you mentioned him as in a previous post as one of your favorites. Who are your favorite riders in road racing terms?
Well, I have a lot of favorites throughout the years. Definitely one of them is Valentino Rossi, who is not road racing anymore, but he's racing in the cars, which is makes him one of my favorite car racers too now. But yeah, definitely Valentino Rossi, Fabio Quartararo, Jack Miller, now Enea Bastianini, since he won the race in Qatar, he's definitely become one of my favorites. So I would say those four are my top four for me.
All right, and you mentioned to me before you got to race against many of the top line Spanish riders when you had, I don't know if it was wildcard or whatever entries, because some of them hop across to CIV. Alberto Ferrandis just won the I don't know if it was pre-Moto 3 or Moto 3 in the CIV last weekend. Yeah, and I mean that's serious competition. But I mean, you know guys like Maximo Martinez and a lot of the other guys you've raced against them, and possibly even Hugo Mian that also sadly passed away last year, right?
Yeah, I haven't just raced with them. I've also trained with them at. There's a very famous kart track here called Gas 74.
Right.
Many Spanish racers and Spanish racers who go in the championship right there. So I was able to ride with them and train with them a lot. But so far on a kart track, I've beaten them all. Now I hold the lap record at two famous tracks here in Spain, which is Circuito Yepes and Gas 74 karting with the Supermoto.
I saw.
Very
Supermoto, right?
Yeah, it's a very, very prestigious lap record, if you'd like to say that. I know that some people might think it's just a kart track lap record, but every top level rider who races in the World Championship have been there and have tried to beat it, because there's a guy there called Simon Jespersen who's basically been there before.
Simon Jespersen, yeah, the Danish guy.
Basically been there ever since the track was repaved new. So he's basically like the gatekeeper of the lap record, because he's been there every day. He lives there. He can train as much as he wants. So it's very hard to break the lap record. But one day when Aaron Canet was there, because we were always saying, oh, you need the perfect weather, you need the perfect everything to break that track record. But for me, it was not the perfect weather and not the perfect conditions. The track was actually a little dusty. But I had Aaron Canet to help me a little bit in the lap record there. He was able to do a 48.5 that day, and the record was 48.2. And we overheard him talking about him also wanting to break the lap record. But the roles have kind of switched, because he was talking about it, and we were like, oh, maybe we can break the track record today. We'll try. And then I went behind him and I beat it. First, I did a 48.0, and then after I did a 47.7.
Well, that's an insanely good story, and that's one for sure you can tell the grandkids, because you were mixing in some serious company there. Now, you were telling me, and we spoke about Le Mans. It's just actually come up to me as a memory. I once took my riders, the motocross team. Like I say, I tried to introduce riders to the other discipline. So I said, okay, we load up. I had a bright yellow Volkswagen Caravelle, which was not all that very slow. It was tuned a bit. So off we go to Le Mans, and you go and you snake into the track. Now my van was all stickered up. They had a huge Vangani Racing logo on the sides, and it had my motocross paddock passes in the window and everything. And by mistake, it was not deliberate at all, but there's a place where the road splits, and then you get split and got split into the paddock, and now I've got cars behind me. I can't turn around. So I thought, look, I'm going to talk my way out of it at the entrance there and say, look, it's a serious mistake. Just turn me around, find me somewhere to go out. So the guy, he looks at all these stickers and he just waves us through. and they actually went and they parked us like within spitting distance of Rossi's campus. So there's my little Le Mans war story. Now, if we speak about tracks, I mean, you got to race some legendary tracks, Assen and Sachsenring, and especially Sachsenring with off cambers and elevation and whatever. What's your favorite track? Which would be the track that you have ridden, and which would be the track that you would most still like to ride?
I'm gonna say 3 words, which is Assen, Assen, and Assen. It's definitely my top favorite track of any track that I've ever been on. It's named the Cathedral of Speed for a reason, and basically the reason why I also race is because the speed and the adrenaline that I get is what I love, basically. So yeah, Essen is definitely my favorite track that I want to race on and ride on and everything.
All right, so and so you and Mick Doohan are not on the same page because he hated the track. I think that's where he got injured with his leg, and he had spouted off a lot about that. And tracks like Portimao and so that you haven't ridden yet, are there any of those that's a bucket list track that you would still like to ride?
Yeah, definitely. I have a few friends who have a ridden there in the Rookies Cup, which is Marco Suriate, and he said, I asked him which one would be his favorite tracks, and he said definitely Portimao would be one of his favorites because it's like a roller coaster. He says it goes up and down, and it's a really fun track to ride on, is what he says. So that's definitely on one of my lists to go there. But
yeah,
also,
because
a small fun fact. Throughout my racing career, I've been on 65 different tracks. So
wow.
I've basically learned the ability to learn a track in a session or two because we were just at a new track here in Spain. It's called our Circuit Albaida. And, I saw it, and that was also kind of like Portimao. There was some up and down. It was a small go-kart track, but it still had some elevation changes. And we were like, oh, maybe if I can learn the track a little bit, and the second session will be fine. The third lap, I was already going the same speed as one of the Supermoto, one of the Spanish championships Supermoto riders.
Oh wow! So, what Supermoto bike do you use? I saw you were training on what bike is it?
I train on the Husqvarna FS450, which is basically you just buy it and it's ready for Supermoto. You don't have to buy any type of find a rim for it and stuff. So basically you just get it and it's done. It's one of the best you can train on.
Yeah, absolutely. The Husqvarna or the KTM, which is much of a muchness. In any case, in Portimao, I know Neil Hodgson said because of the ups and downs and the G-outs, said that on a MotoGP bike with those speeds, it's a motocross track, really, because you get air.
Jack Miller was jumping that little hump. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, that's
that's insane. There. All right, now, I normally promise my interviewees that we will turn it around in about 40 minutes, but, I could have just pressed the green button and left and made tea and let you go because you're doing well. But just towards the end of it, what do you do outside of racing? I saw you said you like ping pong and whatever. What are the things that you like to do?
Basically, so I said I was gonna send you another video, but I wasn't able to find it, sadly. I basically came out of the stomach with motorcycle wheels, basically like a little motorcycle toy in my hand. Ever since I was born, I rode motorcycles. So, basically, my world and my life revolves around a motorcycle. But I play some video games with my brother Benjamin, who's also very competitive. Who also used to race with me. People said that if somebody's ever going to be my competition or beat me, it's going to be my brother Benjamin. But sadly, he wasn't able to ride for these few years. But he's also very competitive. So I play some video games with him. But I like any sport that I can play outside of racing, like basketball or soccer or ping pong. We had a ping pong table back in Hungary, which I used to play with my dad, who was very good at it. He used to play at a national level, and I think you got a podium too, right? You got a third place medal. Yeah. So
we'll import we'll import you a few Chinese people to practice against, on the pink, because they do truly insane things with those. It looks like those balls are radio controlled. Now, Benjamin, he's quite a talented little filmmaker and the fun guy, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like my helper. He gives me a lot of support, also mentally. Like I need my I love my family. I love my dad and my brother. So it's always cool. He always comes out to the track every time I go. It's not like he will stay home or not. These past few days, he's actually been riding again with my Ovale 190, which he's only 10 years old, which is kind of crazy because he started riding when he was only 3 on the track. So he got into racing even younger than I did. But he's definitely he's a very good rider too. Yeah.
All right. Now, my partner in Europe, Dave Brug, asked me, and that was on the list, is when people want to reach you and follow you and see what's up in Rossiville, where do they find you on social and that? Just run us through all of those.
Yeah, so I have a Facebook and Instagram. I was gonna make a TikTok, but I haven't got to there yet. But you can follow me on Instagram at the Samurai 92, which I've also posted a link to this live, and also my Facebook, which is Rossi Moor. Just like that, Rossi Moor official is the at. It's got a picture of my face with the X-Lite helmet, but I can't really show that because I'm factory sponsored by Dainese and AGV, which is very, very helpful for my racing career, since riding gear is also very expensive, but they're really the best company and the best people that surround. It's like a big family. I've also been taken to the Dainese factory, which is a small place in the mountains of Italy. And they also brought me into the which is a little bit of a secret, but they brought me into the room where all the 70 years or the 50 years of them making Dainese suits is back there. They showed me the first suit they made. They showed me all the MotoGP suits now. They assured me that I get the same suit exactly as Valentino Rossi or Pol Espargaro or somebody like that. So really, it's a really big help that Dainese is sponsoring me, and I thank them a lot for it too.
Yeah, you actually anticipated me, because I wanted to ask what sponsor shout-outs you had. Now, you mentioned the Samurai. Just take us around to that. How do you get a Hungarian-American Japanese connection there?
So we were thinking about what logo or what kind of like motto I should have for my racing. Now, when I was growing up, my favorite show was SpongeBob, and I would watch that like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week when I was a little kid. So at first we were thinking that I was going to be like a little SpongeBob, but my dad showed me a photo of a samurai, and then the reasoning behind why a samurai is why they call themselves a samurai is because they'd rather sacrifice themselves than lose. So for me, it's basically the same. I'd rather win or not win. So it's basically
I hear what you say. The gung ho approach. All right, and any other sponsors or people that have helped you along the way that you want to shout out to?
Yeah. Also on the big fan, we have Fighting, which is a company by the name of Attila Fazekas, which is like a very close. He's a sponsor for me, but he's like almost like a third dad or a second dad for me. He's a really good guy with a really good heart, and he's gonna come out to as many races as possible. We also have Kellogg's and Pringles. Duracell too. Duracell's also sponsoring me, so I get a bunch of batteries, which is pretty good. Stefano Favaro, which is basically my manager and my second dad, my non-biological dad, basically. He's really helped us so much throughout the years, and I can't thank him enough. So those are my sponsors that I can lift off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's an impressive list, and I'm sure it's only going to grow. I mean, you well presented. You present yourself well on and off the track. The results are there. And it's interesting you mentioned Duracell, and I don't know why this just struck me. I don't know if you remember in the time of Mick Doohan and Alex Crivier. Now, Crivier is from Spain, very Catholic country, and they were sponsored by Durex, and it was like almost a super contradiction in terms. Yeah. And he had it right here on his collar. So the Duracell, just for some inexplicable reason, made me think of that. So we've gone around hour. Thank you so very much. I'm pretty sure this tastes like more after another season. Just before we close out, what are your plans? There's another round of Northern Talent Cup or season for you, but what's your plan? Where do you want to go and when?
Well, basically my goal is going to be the same for most of the racers that are in the Northern Talent Cup. I'm racing in the Northern Talent Cup to be able to win the championship like everybody else's goal, and to get into the Rookies Cup. So this year, I really don't want to settle for second place or third place. I want to win as much races as possible. But the goal is definitely to get into the Rookies Cup and to go to Moto3. And someday I'll be in MotoGP.
All right. Well, that's great. And I wouldn't want to be the guy to bet against that. So, Rossi, thank you ever so much. This has been absolutely great. And I've had a request here to play your video again because people enjoyed the video. And as I say, both this interview and the actual video will be up on my YouTube channel. I'll send you the links later this evening, so you can watch and rewatch it at your leisure. And thank you very much. So we'll play out with your song, and then until our next edition, it's me, Tinus Nel, signing off with our most chat-worthy guest, Rossi Moor.
Yes, thank you very much, Tinus, and I hope to be back on the show soon. And one more time, just thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Rossi, wait. Rossi, wait.
Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just try your best, try everything you can, and don't you worry what they tell themselves when you're away. It just takes some time, let them know you're